Today, we are talking to a young Gambian data analyst who is going to tell us about the implications when it comes to statistics of the number of votes that candidates in the 2026 elections might be carrying, and also the type of subject, that is the errors of the 2016 presidential election by the IEC. We are going to look at all these things. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Mr. Balde. It's good to be here on this platform to talk about issues concerning Gambian elections, especially given that we have about 16 to 17 months before the 2026 presidential elections in the Gambia. My name is Touba Marrie. As mentioned by Mr. Balde, I'm here in my capacity as a data scientist, but also the founder and CEO of Data Analytics and Education Consulting Group. To answer your question, if you look at the NPP, the story, how it came about, Barrow was a coalition leader where in that 2016 election, he scored about 43.3% to make him the president as a coalition leader. And then 2021, he got 53.23% as an NPP presidential candidate, but of course the incumbent. So can a single party do it against Barrow? If we base it on the past records, if we base it on numbers, I will flatly say no. A single party can't do against Barrow, because the numbers are not in favor of the single parties. The resources are not in their favor. And then also the influence is actually not in their favor. The incumbent in Gambia in our records has been very difficult to remove. From the time of Jawara to Jammeh and also to Barrow. So the opposition, their best bet is a form of a coalition. But to stand solo against the current government, I don't see it happening, at least not backed by numbers.
Okay, let's look at the 2016 presidential election. You are someone who is an expert with regard to numbers and statistics. What do you think went wrong?
What went wrong was that we had three candidates. There was Barrow, Jammeh, the then president, and also there was Mama Kande. And then after all was done and not dusted at the time, President Jammeh accepted defeat. He accepted defeat at the expense of the coalition government under the leadership of Barrow. But then later he went back on Friday, his usual sermons, and then he said that people have to go back to the polls. What happened in reality was true, that there was a problem, and the problem was in numbering. The IEC recorded more votes given to the presidential candidates than they recorded for the ballot casted. Normally, when elections are done, there is a part that is called, these are the total ballots casted, not the total electorate. The electorates are usually the number of people who have been registered to vote. But in normal times, not 100% people will come out to vote for various reasons. Some people might have died, unfortunately. Some might not have been able to travel. Some might have been ill at the time. And then not everyone will go to vote. So when you look at the electorate, the number of ballots casted, the total must always be equal to the petitions given to each candidate. Let's say Balde got 20 votes, Bar got 10 votes, and then Marrie got another 10 votes. The total must be 40. But now, if you are recording total ballot cast as maybe 35, and then this other total is more, that is where the problem is. So Jammeh was within his right to mention that IEC committed some errors. I'll give you a few specific examples. In Serekunda West, in 2016, IEC recorded about 100 ballots, 100 votes more than it has been recorded in the total ballot cast. And also in Kanifing, let me just say, in Brikamonot, there were 107 ballots given to the candidates, more than it has been lead in the total ballot cast. So that is not even like invalid votes or so. No, people say, oh, maybe he's not talking about invalid votes, but just to make this point clear, invalid votes are not counted as a sum of total ballot cast. Total ballot cast is the sum of petitions given to different candidates. Those are not invalid votes. Invalid votes are usually mentioned in the different column. It's called invalid votes, and then they are usually listed in a different column so that, these ones did not find their way inside the ballot box. So those were the problems. But another question could be, are these errors enough to give Jammeh the seat of power? No, at least not what have been manifested here in the results. Those errors are not enough to give Jammeh the seat of power, but it raises so many questions. In fact, more questions than answers. Because what we are expecting from the IEC is that their margin of error when it comes to counting electoral results must always be zero. We know the common saying that the common adage that to err is human, but this is not something that's supposed to happen in elections. Because if you err in election, what you are giving us is that you give us a total that is not the right total. Then you also give us a president based on the total that is not the right total. While the president, let's say if you record everything, he still would have been the winner, but he has been announced a victor on a certain number, on a certain sum that was not right in principle. So that's why Jammeh was, saying that we should go back to the polls.
So, but in a nutshell, as a statistician, data analyst, how do you make such errors? How do you transpose certain figures to another? Of course, it's history, but it's worth reflecting on because it's something that happened. There's a chapter in our life, election. So, God forbid, it might be repeated and it can cause chaos.
Well, how the problems happen, I see would be in a better seat to answer. I can make suggestions as in how the problems would have happened. It could be inability. Let's say I see pretty much might at the time have people who are not well versed in numbers. I'm sure that Gambia have tons of people who are really, let's say, economists and financial experts and people who work as accountants and so many other people who can actually handle large sum of calculations. So it could be inability. It could be at the time they were incapacitated. I don't know how many people were there. Do they also have? They might have lack people who actually have the technical ability. Another thing could be, who knows? I'm not saying that is it, but maybe it was also deliberate. Because we don't know the realities, all these things could have resulted to that. Because for me, the solution would have been if you use a spreadsheet. Excel is a very powerful tool. It depends on how you use it because it has so many. It has always been, almost every year Microsoft will put in some integration inside it, and then when you update it, you will always get the latest version. If let's say because we don't have the best of internet connections in the Gambia, you possibly would not want to rely on another platform to do your election counting on that day to show live results. If you rely on a customized spreadsheet, that would be maybe Excel in this case, you are recording scores. Everything should have been automated from the onset before you even put in any numbers. Excel have the ability for you to automate things from the onset where when you put in every number, there will be like all the other portions will be filled in naturally. You don't even have to go and record. Where the errors happen is that when you start typing, I might want to write 45 and then on the keyboard, 5 and 6 are not far from each other and I can record 46 unknowingly. And then if that happens, then I will just bump up the numbers. But also to double check these numbers to avoid errors whenever you do recordings before they come public. Obviously, because of the on-spot counting, that on-spot counting, people will always be talking about, oh, someone scored this, someone scored that. But until it is official from the IEC, no one can say anything that result is official. So IEC must always make sure that these figures are automated. Like they can have a column called the margin of error that will calculate the difference between the total ballot cast and the difference between the total ballots cast and the sum of petitions given to different candidates. So when that margin of error is always zero, that means the records are right. If that margin of error is populating numbers, then something is wrong somewhere. So that is how I think IC can avoid error. But I already mentioned what I think could have led to errors. It could be inability, maybe it was deliberate, maybe they don't have people with technical ability, technical expertise rather, to sum numbers and then to do this whole addition correctly and avoid errors that could have been deadly. You know how even if someone loses by a vote, that could lead to tears and some serious consequences along the line.
Okay, now let's look at the 2021 presidential election. The UDP concluded that the election was not free and fair. It was rigged. So you think counting on the errors or counting on the lessons of the past, that is 2016 presidential election, now coming on to 2021 presidential election, You think those past errors continued in 2021?
So in 2021, I checked for errors. I did not find any. But where the problem is for 2021, when you look at the registration time, I personally went over the registration data that was provided on the IEC website. I look at there's another file that mentioned registration timelines for different constituencies. Now, I'm not a legal expert, but logic tells me that if I say in constituency A, the registration is from June 1st to June 6th, it closes. Any registration done beyond, logic tells me that is illegal. That's my thinking. I don't know if further registrations were open later along the line. I did not see errors in the election results that were counted and tabulated. Maybe there were. I can go back to double check, but I was just randomly checking some constituencies. I did not see the errors. But in the registration times, there were so many registrations that were done outside the official time frame. So many of them were done outside the official time frame. Could those illegal registration, I would say illegal for now, backing on the fact that I'm not a legal expert, I don't know if IEC went further to update those documents and say, oh, from June 5th to June 1st to June 5th is the official registration, and later they might extend it to June 10th, but that was not captured in those documents. But I can say that I did not see errors in the election results that were populated or actually announced to the public or recorded at the IEC grounds, but the registration times were the issues. And there were so many constituencies you can go to and look at the official timeline and also the times. Normally, registration happen, I think, from 8 a.m. to about 5 p.m. But you could see that there are other registrations that happen beyond that time. I think there were others as late as 8 p.m. Others are as even far beyond that. Those registrations happen. So I think the registration timelines were also issues that could have led to so many things that we don't know.
So now let's look at the reality on the ground. We have so many political parties on the ground.
Yeah.
Some are registered, some are yet to be registered, and then they're all competing for one. That
One
is
spot.
one spot. That is to be president. Now, how
Mhm.
realistic will this be for one candidate to run away with the victory? That is simple majority, even if it is a one. A difference of one figure or two figures.
Well, let's say a difference of a vote or two votes.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
the truth is that I will start with the political parties, backing on all observations, from all indications, from all angles, from all environment, from the same Gambia, is that NPP, the incumbent, will be competing first and foremost with the UDP, then with Mama Kande, then Doi, and then with Isafal. I'm saying this with respect to 2021 election. That was the latest. If you look at 2021 elections, it's clear that NPP were the leaders. So all these other small parties that are now joining, they are not a threat. But of course, they definitely going to add some weight because election is about numbers. My party, maybe he has 5 people, but he joined Barrow. So those 5 people, if even he is able to convince 2 of them to vote for NPP, that is still an addition for the NPP. So people are defecting from one place to another. But the reality is that NPP will be competed by the UDP. That is what the numbers tell me. But obviously, if you look at maybe trends, Isafal last time got like 17,206 votes out of the total ballot cast of 859,567. And then the late Abdullah Jammeh got 8,252 out of that. Mama Kande was 105,902 votes out of the total. Halifa Salah and Doi got 32,435. The UDP and with Dabo got 238,253. And of course, Barrow won by more than 52%, and that is 53 point something. He got 457,519, according to the Independent Electoral Commission. All these votes are the reference point is the IEC. If we look at the realities going to 2026, we have so many political parties today already been registered and still in the process, right? I think in 2021 we have about 18 political parties registered. How many? So at the time, I did not call Isa with the Sobia movement at the time. I think they come as independent. He came as an independent candidate. but today there's a registration with the APP somewhere. I don't know. Let's say we look at the realities. NPP will come, the UDP will come either as a coalition or something. I don't know whether Mama will come or not. Hopefully he comes, though it might come. The reality is, the reality rather is that the NPP still have the upper hand if you go solo, 1-to-1. NPP still have the upper hand. But then things can change. There are so many things happening in the country. Most of the things that I'm saying, I'm basing it on the past records. But to predict the future, the best chance for the oppositions is a coalition. Remember, a coalition formula is the only formula that ever worked in the history of the Gambia. In 2016, Gambians went to the polls. We had 3 ballot boxes: Adama Barrow, Yaya Jammeh, Mama Kande, and then Barrow emerged victor, but he was a coalition leading candidate. There has never been a time where, apart from the incumbent, a single party win elections as an opposition. And that is why the formula, the winning formula that ever worked in the history of our country is a coalition. Political parties joining hands together, join force together to challenge the status quo, and the status quo is the incumbent party. So I will put it out there that if oppositions really want to give it the best, if they want to try their best chance, is to come together, convince people to go against the government. But if they want to stand solo, the chances are super slim, super slim, and then it's only going to favor Barrow as of now.
But Touba Marrie, it's good to mention the fact that it's not going solo for the opposition will be sort of Barrow's strength. But now,
Yeah.
if you look at it, if you also go coalition, the problems of the past, we've seen how the coalition government fragmented. That is the 2016 government. So they broke into parts, and until now, some of them are still they hardly see eye to eye. So now, if we are talking about 2026 for another set of parties to come together and then try to unseat Barrow in the 2026 presidential election, well, so to say, realistically, is possible, but I still that rancor still going on, lingering about power sharing, about who is going to take with what position, and then how those positions are going to be apportioned.
So, well, that's not my expertise. I will speak on that just a little bit, but obviously
Yeah,
my expertise here.
we are just trying to look at it from that
Yeah, yeah,
perspective because
indeed,
yeah.
yeah, but that's true. You're right. That happens, but that is why this is my take. I always say, when politicians do speak and tell us that they have the interest of our country at heart and not self-interest, then they should not find it difficult to come together, put their differences aside, bring in the common goals, and then go for it. If 5 of us want to lead the Gambia and we only want to do well for the country, then we should not have problem in putting only one person ahead to lead the occasion while we come around that person to support. But the reality is that mostly you see many people in politics are there for self-interest. For example, I will say Ismail Cisse from Brikama left CA's principles to join Barrow. Mamadou Sabali from the UDP also left the United Democratic Party to join Barrow. Of most of the things that they say against the president, they leave it. So I don't see those things as genuine politics. They can always say that they're being genuine about it, but I personally think otherwise. When it comes to coalition building and so on, I think that is a role for the politicians to do. But then the problem with coalition is that, Mr. Balde, when you come together to form a coalition, the coalition, whatever MOUs you have, can never supersede the constitution. That is the problem. You can say, I will come for one term, Barrow tell us 3 years, and then after that, you at the time, I vividly remember, in his own words, oh, I'm a business person. I just come to oversee things, a transition period. I'll go back to my business. And well, going back to business in 3 years is now counting for 15 years. So because he is relying on the constitution that he can run again and again. It doesn't matter. I think people just have to be principled and true to themselves. This is my way. If I'm telling people that, oh, let's form a coalition and then we agree on MOU, if they really believe in truth and sincerity and honesty without even looking at the legal aspect of it, that is, oh, but the constitution says this. At the time of you talking about the MOU, you do know the constitution existed. If you had put in the same clause that the constitution says, we will not even be talking about the MOU, because we know very well that in practical terms, if let's say they're saying that, oh, let's go for 5 years, one time for 5 years, and then we can go back to the polls. That is even more practical than saying that I will only do 2 years. Only a very, very honorable, God-fearing, sincere, honest, and a principled man will say, I will only be a president for 2 days, and then they execute that accordingly. But oftentimes it's hard to do it. So they just have to put all differences aside. Whatever they will agree on for 2026, potentially, nobody knows if it's going to happen. Whatever they are going to agree on, whoever is going to be the leader must just be honorable enough if the coalition wins to do as agreed. That is the moral aspect of it. But I just hope that person will not also come and tell us 2 years and then will end up vying for another 20 years in office.
Let's look at the numbers as of now. How many registered voters do we have for 2026?
No, that has not been announced yet. If you tell me how many registered for 2021, yes. And then obviously there'll be new registration. I think this can be confirmed by you, and I can also confirm it, that the past voter cards can still be used. I'm not sure they are expired yet by those who actually registered. Remember, not all those who also registered at the time will still be available to vote for various reasons. Natural occurrences like that might have happened, and some people will not be in the right frame of mind to do so. But the last time that electorates were registered in 2021, there were 962,157. 962,157, close to a million. Obviously, the population have grown from, I think the voting age in the Gambia is 18 years and above. So from 2021 to 2026 will be like another 5 years. So all those who were 13 years at the time that this thing closed, 13 years at the time, will now be eligible to register again and vote. So I'm expecting that we will possibly go a million above electorates, hopefully, or maybe somewhere close to a million. So if we have that, and given how things are going, I heard in the news, I'm unconfirmed, that President Barrow said that he wants to, I don't know, increase his percentage beyond 53, the victory margin. So, well, that is also left to the electorates. Barrow and any other person are backed by the constitution to vie for office again and again until the legislature changes. He can still do it. Whether the question of him increasing his winning percentage, I don't know. Electors will determine that, and IC will tell us the results.
Okay, Touba Marrie, as someone who worked with figures, you think there can be a tie in the results, like 50-50, where maybe, there is no provision in the constitution for a second round, but with numbers, you think there can be a tie?
Oh, really? If there is no constitutional provision for second round, then it's better we look into that, because the answer to can, yes, can refers to ability. The answer to a will refers to certainty. I don't know if it will happen, but can it happen? Yes, it can happen. It can happen that things get so close that it is a 40-40-20. Like, let's say there are 3 ballot boxes, but the incumbent get 40, a possible coalition got another 40, and then the remainder is a 20%, that is 100%. And then what do we do next? Do we have 2 presidents or not? No, we are not going to have 2 presidents. Maybe it's not in the constitution. It could be in the electoral laws. I hope it is captured in the electoral laws for the second time, for people to go back to the polls. I'm not really sure, but if it is not, then they must look into it ahead of time, because anything can happen in future.
Finally, Touba Marrie, what do you think is your take on the present political realities on the ground? If elections were to be held today or tomorrow, who do you think will run with the victory?
I think I will run with the victory if I participate. Okay. I'm just kidding. Okay. The realities on the ground are sometimes very hard for you to equate it to election outcomes. Yes, I think if you look at it, is that I looked at one of the survey results from Cyprus. little Sepresso and other farms, the survey results are different. There's a farm that conducted some results and Barrow still becomes victor because of him by default he is still the president. The reality is on the ground, if I have to predict, is that if there is a coalition government today, like let's say the UDP joined forces with Isapal and Doi and Mama Kande, I think they will put up a very big fight. They can even beat Barrow by maybe a percentage or two. But if it is just solo, 1-1 to 1-1, I think the NPP are going to win today. If it is just 1-1, because there are, remember, the political climate back in the Gambia, both among the incumbent and also among the incumbent members and also among the opposition members, it is not very peaceful at the moment. You know, there's a lot of tension with so many fragments and you know, I will say atomic particles, or even you can go on to see some fractions. So if they go solo today, I think NPP will win. But if there is a coalition among the possible giants like the UDP, Mama Kandeh, Doi, Esafal, I think they can topple up Barrow peacefully. But then you know, you never can tell. But a coalition is the shortest way, not the shortest rather. There is going to be the best challenge or the biggest fight, the biggest hurdle for Barrow, rather than if they all go solo, because there'll be divisions and everyone will vote for whoever you think can make you a president.
Well, on that note, I throw the last question or the last remark that you have before we wrap up this program. Is there anything else I would like to say? There's so much rumor about Jammeh's coming, and then also they're also thinking big that he could participate in the 2026 presidential election. So, I mean, what is your take on that?
Jammeh comment. Well, Jammeh is a citizen of the Gambia and a former president for that matter. If he is to come, I think Gambians will welcome him. The only thing is that I think for all the allegations levied against him, if Jammeh comes, he should have his fair trial at the courts. If found guilty, the law will take its full effect. If not found guilty, then I think he can go back to Kanilai to embark on the farming that he ever decides to do. But remember, I don't know, some time back, then Attorney General Matambedu once said at the law school, I don't know, that was a ceremony in law school where he said that make no mistake about it, if the former president Yahya Jammeh ever steps foot in this country, he will face immediate arrest and charges of the most serious kind. I think that still stands today, that when Jammeh comes, he will be arrested, but then given his fair trial at the courts. I think that's the legal process. The issue of he come back or not, he's still in Equatorial Guinea. Every day you'll hear audios, not every day, well, here and then he will hear audios from him that he's coming back, and when he comes to run away, I think he forgot that he is no longer the president, and the powers that he was having are no longer in his possession, both as a person, but also even when he was in power. So, yeah, Jammeh can come, but let him go to court and clear his name.
Thank you so much, Touba Marrie. Have a wonderful time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Bal.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.